They went into the wilds of Alaska, where they had to hunt for food and build their own homes. But the Brown family from the Alaskan bush lived through storms that no one saw coming. Since the reality show started in 2014, they've been through cancer, terrible fires, painful divorces, and a terrible death. In true Bush People style, though, they also made new routes, like starting companies, having families, and starting over when they moved away from the forest. After the camera stopped rolling, what did happen? Where are they now? In the year 2025, come with us as we find out what happened to the Alaskan Bush People band. Ralph Brown. Alaskan Bush People was mostly about Billy Brown, who was married and had 7 kids. He was born in Fort Worth, Texas, on December 3, 1952. He lost both parents and his sister in a plane crash when he was only 16 years old. Billy was on his own because he had no place to live and no one to care for him. And it was through these things that he learned to be more independent and safe. He later got married to Amy Martin, who was only 15 years old when they started dating. And over the years, they had 7 children. Discovery Channel brought the Browns into millions of homes with Alaskan Bush People in 2014. Billy quickly became the show's dynamic boss and he pushed people to be independent. He taught his kids how to fish, hunt, build shelters, and do everything else for living without power. It was great that Billy was interested in living in the woods, but it was bad for his health. He had ongoing issues with his lungs and heart, which finally had an effect on his health. Sadly, Billy had a seizure that killed him at their farm in Washington on February 7th, 2021, and he died at the age of 68. His quick death shocked both his family and his friends, and the series came to an end. Alaskan Bush People were not the same after Billy's death. As of season 14, which ran in 2022, it was hard to keep going, so the focus was on the kids, who tried to carry on their dad's idea as a family. The show finished quietly, and fans often thought of the last season as the unauthorized end. However, what became of his wife, Amy? Are you Amy Brown? She was the next important character in Alaskan Bush People. She was Billy's wife and had 7 kids. She became the strong head of the Brown family after being born on August 28, 1963. In April 2017, she was told she had stage 3 non-small cell lung cancer and had a 3% chance of living. Her kids were all worried about her chances of living, but she got a lot of chemotherapy and radiation treatment and then did amazing things to get better. She was told she no longer had cancer in December of that same year. After this, their family moved from Alaska to Washington State so they could get better medical care. Over the years, Amy's ability to stay calm and strong became an important part of the show's flow. She helped the family deal with health scares and land problems by being their voice of reason and giving them mental support. Around the middle of February 2025, Amy was taken to the emergency room because she was having terrible chest pain and trouble breathing. She was taken to a bigger hospital by ambulance, put into a medically induced sleep and given an intubation to treat pneumonia. Snowbird and Bear Brown say that her lungs are not doing well. Late in February, Bear told them that Amy was doing better and had been moved out of the ICU. Soon, Bear shared a video of Amy at home, where her kids were nearby and Air was nearby to help her get better. After Billy passed away, Amy took care of the family land. She's been sued for $500,000, 0 cents, by a business partner and has been in charge of assets like animals and collectibles. He has also been working towards freedom by doing things like getting her driver's pass. She has helped her kids along the way, starting with Matt Brown. Matt Brown. Many people know Matt Brown as the oldest Brown brother. He seemed stable during the show's run, but he finally had problems with alcoholism. Because of this, he was kicked off the show in 2019 and went to rehab, where he started his road to recovery. Between 2018 and 2020, Matt had a lot of tough times. He told the public about claims of starting to use drugs and misusing money by family business and said Billy didn't give him money. Also in 2018, 2 women said he did something wrong. Even though the LAPD looked into these reports, the person was not charged. Matt has been living in a more grounded country way in North Cascades, Washington State, close to where his family used to own land. He works on a farm, enjoys hiking, drawing, having bees and other artistic activities. He sometimes spends long periods of time alone, camping on Chupacabra Mountain or spending the winter in the rough woods. On his YouTube page, he shares survival tips and personal thoughts. Matt is also now a big supporter of people who are recovering from drugs. He uses Instagram to share his thoughts on mental health, his progress in staying healthy and words of support, and YouTube. He has also stayed clean over the years and he often celebrates his recovery in public. Even though Matt lives close to his family, he doesn't spend much time with them. Bear stated that things are still tense by saying that Matt does his own thing and that they don't see him very often. He has at least made up with her financially, though he is still due money from show earnings. Matt probably won't come back to the show ever, but Bam Bam Brown, the next brother, did in 2019. The next Brown child, who was known for being quiet and useful, was Joshua Bam Bam Brown. He was very important to the Browns' ability to live on their own. He left the show in 2017 to pursue a relationship with director Alaskan Bush. He came back for a short time in 2019, but finally quit the show for good. Bam Bam turned his attention to eco-friendly innovations by January 2020. Insiders say he started a business that comes up with healthy ways to live that combine knowledge of the woods with modern technology. In 2022, Bam Bam had to deal with a big problem when he was in a terrible crash on a Washington State motorway. He tried to escape, hitting a camera with his GMC, but the passenger in the camera sadly died. He lived with only slight wounds. One wave at a time, Bam Bam's father's autobiography was turned into a podcast in 2025 as a tribute to his father. Aside from this, he has been working on photography projects since 2019, mostly through social media for nature and scenery shots. He and Allison lived on a boat or barge in Charleston. Bam Bam doesn't post much online, but every once in a while he breaks the silence to thank his fans and repeat his father's values of family, faith, and freedom. Even though he has a private life, it serves a purpose and isn't full of problems. A lot of the inside information we have about the Alaskan Bush people comes from Bear Brown, who is the third child of the Brown family. Bear Brown. People really like Solomon Bear Brown on the show because he was brave and knew how to stay alive. He changed from a rogue in the wild to a devoted parent. Since the show was over, he moved from Alaska to Washington in 2021. They had 3 boys together, River, Cove, and Everest. He got married to Raven Brown. Bear and his family moved into a rental house in Washington with his brother Gabe's family in June 2023. He has been saving money to buy land so that he can one day go back to Alaska. He has also been turning an old school bus into a mobile house. He pays for this project by selling books and other items. Showed hints of 2 spin-off projects, Alaskan Bush People, behind the scenes with Bear Brown and the next generation of Alaskan Bush People, but none of them have come out yet. He posts teaser clips of old show footage along with narrated thoughts and updates on country life and family adventures on social media, which support his move from traditional TV to personal platforms. Bear Brown has been in a lot of problems because he is one of the most well-known Brown brothers. In 2025, Bear and Raven said they were parenting up, but they made it clear that it was amicable and that they would be parenting together without getting angry. He was also arrested for misdemeanor domestic abuse, but the case was dropped after he made peace with Raven. Bear now lives in Washington, where he co-parents and works on personal media projects that are likely shared on his own rather than through Discovery. He is still focused on buying land, spending time with his family, and making material, even though it's not clear what will happen with an official Alaskan Bush People return. The Wolfpack group is still interested in Bear's side projects and lifestyle reports. Gabriel is the next younger brother or sister. His style is changing quickly, which makes him stand out. In 2019, Gabriel Brown married Raquel Rose Pentella. He and many of his brothers left the Alaskan Bush People show. He now lives in Washington with his wife and 2 girls. In late 2024, they will have a 3rd child. The couple just moved from their home in the mountains to a rental house that is better for their girls. Gabe is skilled at both hard work and imagination. He works in building and homesteading and also likes to draw portraits and make music. Antion has a spirit of adventure and he likes fieldwork. A lot of his fans liked the original acoustic song he posted on Instagram not long ago. Living off the grid is still a part of Gabe's life, but he hasn't been shooting in the woods full-time since season 8. He thanked the show's makers in a post that made it seem like he might be done with his part. Fans have seen him with makeup and eyebrows, which shows that his style has also changed, showing how he expresses himself outside of family life. In the beginning of 2025, Gabe had surgery, but he told his friends online that he was fine. He kept a good attitude and talked about how thankful and excited he was to be back at work on the homestead. Gabe has been honest about how social media makes him feel. He thought about leaving platforms at one point because he felt let down by personal ties. But support from fans pushed him to keep sharing. Gabe is currently focused on his growing family and staying in Washington, where he works on building projects, homesteading, and artistic projects. He stopped going on TV as often, but he's still involved online, sharing his girls' art, music, and pictures from his life. Noah Brown. Noah D.C. Brown married his wife Rain in 2018. On their farm in Washington, they raise animals and grow their own food to live in a more environmentally friendly way. They share tips on how to live off the grid and raise their boys, Elijah and Adam, on YouTube and a social media page. A big problem for the family came up in 2020 when a rental house burned their mountain home and they had to move into a rental house. They are slowly getting back on their feet while putting down roots in their neighborhood. Fans were shocked in 2025, though, when Noah and Rain told everyone on TikTok that they were splitting up. Noah moved into their guest house and still spent the weekends with their kids. They stress that they will raise their kids in a friendly way and causing them as little harm as possible. In the beginning of 2024, Noah and Rain put in for a protection order against his sister Rain, saying she was making threats and abusing drugs. Noah's guest house is close to Rain's rental home where he lives. He's allegedly hired a divorce lawyer and is busy building a new support network. He's also ready to let Rain keep the main house if that's what it takes. Noah recently answered fans' questions about his money and the health of his children, which got both praise and abuse from the public. The other person in the Brown family who had cancer was Snowbird Brown. Fans were let down when Snowbird Brown was told she had 2 ovarian tumors during the 2022 launch of season 14. The tumors were taken out safely during emergency surgery, and thankfully they were not deadly. However, doctors have told her that there is an 80% chance that it will come back. They are keeping an eye on this by giving her regular tests and blood work every couple of months. It wasn't as easy for Snowbird to get better after the surgery as she planned. She had some small problems, like fluid building up around scar tissue and some lumps. She was able to get back to doing daily things like work and taking care of her pets after she got better. Snowbird started her YouTube program, Birds of a Feather, in 2025. She also opened an Etsy shop called Snowbird Crafts to sell handmade dream catchers, jewelry, and candles. She did this to become a business and share her off-grid life online. She doesn't post as much on social media as her brothers do, but she is still busy on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads, especially during TikTok live sessions. She clearly identifies as a cat lady and nature fan by posting photos and videos of nature and wildlife, moments from baking, and news about her cats. There is a stable person in the family named Snowbird, and she helped take care of her sick mother, Emmy. She doesn't talk to her older brother, Matt, either. Rain Brown is the last person in the Alaskan Bush People cast. It rained brown. Since the end of the show in 2022, Rain has grown into a strong young adult. After her father died, she took a break from social media to focus on her mental health. When she came back, she posted a message about nature, helping people be kind to themselves and heal. Rain no longer lives with the main Brown farm. She now lives at North Star Country in Washington and still writes about country life. She likes to write, play music, and make things at the same time. Rain has been open about how hard it is for her to deal with loss and depression. She looked for professional help after 2021 and often posts uplifting words on Instagram, telling her fans to get help, find peace within, and understand how powerful self-love can be. In late 2023, she started dating cook Josiah Lawton. January 2025, they announced they were getting married. Even though some brothers, like Bear, could make it to the wedding, Rain still wrote touching posts about how happy she was for them. Rain and Josiah were caught in Okanagan, Washington on April 11, 2025. They were charged with first-degree theft, malicious mischief, and trespass. Later, they were freed on their own recognizance, while plea talks were still going on. Rain Brown likes working on a field, which makes fans think of the tough tasks in the Alaskan Bush People show, Challenges in the Woods. The Browns lived off the grid and were known as the Wolf Pack. They had to deal with sub-40-degree Fahrenheit temperatures, heavy snow, and wild winds in Alaska. They skillfully used local logs, moss, and hides to build lean-tos, snow caves, log houses, and protected homes. Being careful is always needed when living near bears, wolves, and moose. They learned how to store food, track animals, and defend themselves by making noise and knowing how to stay safe around bears. In addition, they got their food from traditional ways like hunting with a gun or a bow, fishing on the ice or in a river, and picking berries, mushrooms, and wild greens. They collected rainwater, used solar panels, and had to be creative with wood fire heaters. To live without grid power, they made compost toilets, filtered water, and used less energy. The family learned how to use maps, stars, and markers to find their way. They also learned how to start a fire in wet conditions, give first aid, fix tools, and make things up on the spot. All of these are skills that are necessary for living alone. There were still some problems with the show, even though it was very exciting and stressful. Disputes, the charges of identity and theft were one of the biggest problems. In 2015, Billy Brown and others admitted they lied about where they lived in order to get over $20,000, 0 cents, from Alaska's Permanent Fund payout. Bill and Joshua were fined and sent to jail for 30 days. Some people say this hurts the show's portrayal of real off-grid life. Things got even worse when some said the scenes on Alaskan Bush People were fake. According to the story, workers built Browntown while the family lived in nearby hotels. Some also said they faked crises and brushes with wildlife to make the stories more exciting. There were also court battles over land and filming. It was said that houses were filmed on public land, which could have been against the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act. There were worries about the climate and opposition in the area over the effects of the production. Of course, we can't forget the family court cases. In 2025, NOAA reported a safety worry, saying that Amy and Rain were having problems with drugs. At about the same time, Rain and her husband were arrested for breaking into a house and taking family property. At the same time, cases related to Billy's assets made things even worse. Aside from the scandals, the Alaskan Bush People had to deal with other problems and grew over the years, moving, taking a break, and spin-offs. In 2017, they reached one of their most important goals. When Amy Brown's lung cancer forced the Brown family to move from Alaska to Washington state, from extreme forest survival to farming, ranching, and family life, it was a big change. Since the 14th season ended in December 2023, there have been no new episodes. Discovery hasn't publicly cancelled the show, but it is described as being on hiatus. This is likely because Billy Brown died in 2021 and his estate is being sued for $500,000, 0 cents. Bear Brown keeps saying that it's not scrapped, it's just being put on hold because of ongoing legal issues and company restructuring. Bear Brown brought Alaskan Bush People to the public's attention in April 2024, a web-based spin-off with exclusive video and comments. It was supposed to air in the summer of 2024, but no shows have shown up yet. Then in March 2025, he announced another project called Next Generation of Alaskan Bush People, which would be made on his own YouTube channel and feature his young family and brother Gabe going back to Alaska. Which Brown child is your favorite? Just write your thoughts in the box below. Remember to like this video and follow for more stories that haven't been told before. Click the next movie on your screen while you're here. You won't want to miss anything else.